Welcome back, dude and dudettes, to another wild episode of Send It Mate. We're here to talk about all things hunting and outdoors. And today, we've got something that'll keep your gear running smoother than a dingo's getaway.
That's right. Our show is brought to you by High Calibre, the gun and knife oil company that knows how to keep your firearms and blades in tip-top shape.
High Calibre is like the secret sauce for hunters, anglers, and outdoorsy folk everywhere. It's like the magic potion that makes your gun and knives happier than a dog with two tails.
You know, guys, I've been using High Calibre oil for a while now, and let me tell you, it's the duck's nuts. My rifle practically sings a lullaby when I take it out hunting.
And speaking of lullabies, ever tried sneaking up on a deer with a squeaky gun? It's a prime way to end up with no venison in the freezer. You'll be hungrier than a vegan at a bacon festival.
Absolutely. But with High Calibre oil, your gun will be quieter than a ninja in moonlight. You'll be stalking your prey with the grace and stealth of a mountain lion.
High Calibre doesn't just keep things quiet, it also prevents rust and corrosion, so you won't find your gear looking like it spent a season at the bottom of a creek.
That's right, and for you knife enthusiasts out there, High Calibre has got you covered too. Your trusty blade will slice through anything smoother than butter on a hot biscuit.
So, folks, don't let your gear become a rusty, squeaky mess. Head on over to highcalibre.com.au and grab a bottle of their oil today.
And if you use the code SENDITMATE at checkout, you'll get a special discount. I say again, use the code SENDITMATE for all your oil slick, stealthy hunting needs.
Thanks to High Calibre, you'll be sending it in style and silence.
So, gear up, oil up, and send it, mate. High Calibre, the ultimate oil for the ultimate hunter.
What's going on, ladies and gentlemen?
Yo, G units.
We're back again. Another week of Send It Mate podcast. I'm Caleb.
I'm Josh.
And I'm Ryan.
Welcome.
I love the voice that you always put on, man.
Ryan does put on voices. I don't even know if you actually know you're doing it sometimes.
Nah,
but
probably not.
You,
I do consider myself to be a live Robin Williams, though.
alive.
Was that brutal? Is that too brutal?
Yeah, that was to the point.
That's wrong on a couple of levels. One, the poor man
dead.
is dead.
No, I like Robin Williams.
Two, you're nowhere near the same talent level as Robin Williams.
Yeah.
I think you think so in your head.
Insulting. That's way to open up and cut my legs out from underneath me, mate.
In your own head, I think you are. I think you think you are, rather.
Yeah, but in our heads, our own heads, we all think that we're swinging dicks, mate.
In our
Superstars.
heads, zombie.
Hey? Oh,
You see what I did.
yeah.
You're a fucking cranberry. Anyway, what do you got for us, Ryan? A bit of a point of interest? A bit of a
Yeah, well, I was...
tickle our pickles.
I'll open up the POI with a question. Do you know how to turn birdshot into a solid slug without obviously melting it down?
Yeah, I was going to say.
So melt it.
Maybe melt it.
Smash it together.
Yeah.
Where? Wax.
Wax. Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah. That was. I was doing a little bit of research on the legalities around ground alteration with the South Australian police. It turns out that you can alter your rounds however the fuck you want, because the definition of a hand loaded round is just having two components put together to be put into a rifle
By hand.
We see. I think there's actually some regulation on that, because I am most certain that Sabo rounds are illegal.
Purchasing manufactured rounds like that.
No, but if you were to hand load and say a Sabo round, so essentially what that is for a rifle is a plastic cup that sits over the base of the projectile, and when it's seated, like you seat it in your case, and then when you fire, the projectile doesn't actually engage the lands. So the bullet is not affected.
Different size rounds inside different gels as well.
Yeah, but then it's also not, I believe, I'm not a forensic scientist, but I believe it's then not traceable.
Yeah,
Yes, we did mention this before.
Yeah.
They're not allowed to sell it. That's what the legality is. So what you as a gun owner, having a gun license, you're allowed to have ownership of round stuff, but they're not allowed to sell that specific stuff.
Ah, right.
That doesn't make much sense though. Like if it's
You can buy
illegal,
solid slugs.
if it's illegal to sell because it's not traceable, then it should be illegal to make or
be in possession
use.
of.
Period. Otherwise, you may as well just make handmade guns, and they could be legal, but they can't sell them to you. Like that's, I don't get that logic. I don't get that logic.
This comes under and this is just me Google researching, by the way. If you really want to know the facts, go talk to the Popo yourself, ladies and gentlemen. Don't take what we're saying
Oh,
as
definitely not.
legal advice whatsoever.
Yeah, don't. Or just give it a go. And it's easier to ask for forgiveness than it is for permission.
I feel like we need one of those disclaimers in really fast words.
Yeah.
Cinemator podcast does not endorse this.
So anyway, what I was getting at was melting down crayons and then using that to bond the birdshot together. And there's
Candles.
candle wax doesn't work because it doesn't hold it together.
I mean, do you produce a large amount of earwax?
I do. Turns out that ear candles don't get the wax out of your ears, by the way. Side note, ladies and gentlemen. So
Actually, talk about side notes. This is what I was watching the other night. I was watching people get their ears flushed with water. I know I'm weird.
no, I watched that.
No, but I heard it's good.
Yeah,
I jerk off to it all the time.
yeah. Like I'm one of those weird people who watches like people having cysts burst or like
Yeah.
blackheads removed or teeth drilled out or all that sort of shit. So yeah, I somehow went down the rabbit hole the other night of you get your ears flushed with water and these giant lumps of wax come out.
I've heard it's Dad's had it a couple times now, and
Poiter.
like he says it feels amazing, and after like you can hear more.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's what people say. I'm just like, okay.
I get that regularly because my ear canals have got a weird fucking shape.
I'd like to do it. I've got to jumping in there on the same topic. Enemas, like they are supposed to. You're supposed to feel amazing after it, man. Like, look, it's something that I'd consider doing, man.
I can give you an enema.
Bloody oath, I'd consider doing it, cleaning out the guts.
I've got a hose out the back.
Look, I want a professional in a sterile
What are you
environment.
trying to say?
Is this something your boyfriend requested or?
Is that because he kept getting poopy on his dick?
No, look,
and he was like, "Yo, you need to get that shit sorted."
No, look, I've heard
Unintended.
it's really good for you, and you feel good, and gets rid of like your bowel movements. I do have a funny story about this, but I don't think that the person that got it done would like me to share that on the air.
Are you talking about yourself?
No, I'd share it, man.
How was anyone gonna know
We've
unless you-
spoken about my bloody hemorrhoids, mate. So why wouldn't
How
I
are your
share it?
hemorrhoids going? Seeing as we're talking about butt stuff.
Next fucking question.
I feel like there's not too much that's off limits with us.
I don't think we've ever come
it's
across
not.
a topic where someone's gone, "Yeah, no, we'll pump the brakes there."
Look, I'm for like healthy shit. I drank a green fucking beverage this week that was full of like
You drank a salad.
yeah. So
Oh.
blended up salad and
You changed, man.
yeah. That was good. Tasted all right actually. I drank more than what I thought I would have. But yeah. So I'm good now. I've had vegetables that'll tie me over for the next 2 years.
You're one serving for the year. Good for you.
It's funny.
There we go. Well, before we were talking about bodily functions and earwax, what are we talking about?
Yeah. So turning your birdshot into a solid slug. So really what you do is you slice the top of the shotgun shell off with a knife, obviously, and you get like right on the ring where they crimp it over, and then the top pops off, and then you just melt down your crayon, pour your birdshot into that, and then pour it back into the shell, and Bob's your transvestite auntie, mate. You're ready to rock and roll. Wait till that goes.
This is something we should try because solid slugs aren't illegal.
No, but they cost $6 a round. as
Yeah, but
opposed
making
to-
your own, why not?
Yeah.
Give it a go.
I'd be interested to see what performance you get out of your,
Well, that's
your
what
crayon
That's what I was
birdshot.
getting to. So the performance of it's obviously not as good as an actual solid slug, but a crayon shot performs better than a wax shot because
Because it comes in blue, pink, and green.
well, that way you can tell who shot what as well. So if Ernie wakes up with a blue shot to his chest and a pink shot to his chest, Ernie's a stuffed animal that you're shooting just for shits and giggles, then you can tell that Caleb is the one that missed because the yellow crayon's off in the distance.
Oh, look, it's fun, but I can just imagine it being a pain in the ass to dick around with.
I'd give it a go. I wonder if it would run in your Adler.
Yeah, I'd run it in the other.
Yeah, I
But
wonder
I was
if
thinking-
it would work,
Yeah.
if it would chamber and cycle correctly.
Yeah, I reckon it would. Yeah, I mean, the all the videos that I watched on it, they did it with over and unders, not with like straight pulls or levers or anything like that. So it'd be interesting to see if the action still work. But I was just thinking that in terms of like running sneaker lanes or something like that, if you were using color coded shot,
Does it leave them
it leaves a
colour
mark.
mark?
Yeah, it leaves a color mark. So you
Mate,
be able to tell.
well, I'd be down to try that when we're running a sneaker lane next.
Yeah, that's cool. I mean, my son's not going to have any crayons left by the end of it. So
I'm sure we could buy some crayons. Fuck.
no, use what
Where the fuck do you buy
Use what
crayons?
you got, mate. I don't know.
Where do you-
Toys
where do
R Us? Is that a?
Anywhere, man.
Do you know
Kmart?
we should wear camo? All of us wear camo gear, then go into Toys R Us and be like, "Excuse me, where's your crayon section?" That would be
It's a hard pass from me.
that'd be hilarious. I'd get a
I mean, I
kick out of
feel like we just need to buy some bulk wax and some colouring rather than buy packaged
Yeah, but does the
crayons.
wax
But then
stand up in the heat of that's
that. No, the wax
produced?
is softer than the crayon. That's why it doesn't stay together. The round shatters.
I could see wax not working because of the heat that's generated.
Food for thought. Thank you,
Wax.
Ryan, for bringing such a provocative POI.
Yes, you can eat crayons. That's why Caleb said that.
Yeah, my favourite flavour is the green one.
Apple.
Why am I not surprised? All right, well, cool. Let's get into this week's topic, which is, does size matter?
It's so big.
Jeez.
Are you a Magnum or are you a regular?
Are we talking about ice creams? Ice creams, isn't it?
I love a good Magnum Ego.
I love a golden
It's all about the
gate arm.
caramel.
It's all about caramel.
It's all about the caramel.
Oh, shit.
Sticky caramel.
Not
Does size matter?
Well, I'm sure people are expecting, with our juvenile minds, to straight away talk about penises, and we did. So,
Well, with that,
well, we can't. I like it how we fail to disappoint every time. It's great.
with that, every chick you ever with is like, have they said to you, I should, well, my question to you is, every chick that you've been with, have they been like, oh, you're so big? Have they told you?
Well, if they haven't, is it a bad thing or is it like?
It could be, Ryan.
Is that because every chick that you've been with is like, oh my God, Josh, your cock's so big? Do they go, ooh, as well?
Oh, God. This is like,
It really makes this. It
degrading.
makes the
This is
$200
degrading.
at the end of the night worth it, doesn't it, mate?
this is degrading to women. Very degrading. To women.
Wow. No, it's a profession, mate. Sex workers have rights too.
well,
I'm sure they do.
when
The
I
right to not get AIDS.
I Googled, does size matter? And of course, the first thing that comes up is all about dicks. Like everything that comes up is about dicks. And I found myself watching this.
I
No,
love how the sentences I found myself watching. So that's great.
there's a anyway, I found out watching this animated thing on YouTube which talked about the penis size to body ratio of all different species, like animals and humans. So, like the biggest ratio of dick to body is actually there's some sort of clam, or is it a
Clam with a dick.
clam, some sort of shellfish. Anyway, its dick is 10 times as long as its body is, and that's because these things can't move. So to mate with another one, it has to be able to just extend it, like go gadget arm its dick over to the other stationary shellfish.
Do they ever does the dick need to feel around? So it's like Steve and Frank are out on the prowl, and Steve's accidentally slapping Frank in the head with his cock because he has to try and find the female.
Yeah. Anyway, but yeah, it was just it was just going through all this different evolutionary science of why dicks have evolved the way they have. Like for primates, we actually have the biggest dick to body ratio, whereas the biggest primate, the silverback gorilla, has got a 1-inch dick.
No wonder they're angry with.
But that's because it doesn't need to have a big dick, because once it's asserted dominance, it just has this harem of female gorillas that it can just fuck as it wants.
So does that mean if you have an enormous penis, you get the same result? Just have a harem of females that you can fuck whenever you want.
But all right, so when it comes,
I don't think it works.
something I learned when it comes to humans though is we never used to wear clothes, and women were naturally drawn to larger dicks because they just were, and you used to just have a dick on show. So naturally, humans evolved because women were naturally attracted to the dude walking around with no clothes on and with a big swinging dick.
Natural selection of the big dick vibe.
And over time, the ratio of body to dick size was just bigger in humans. So there you go. I learned something today. That is not going to be my topic breakdown.
That is terrible.
We should actually get off penises.
We should.
I didn't even get on a penis. What are you talking about?
Let's dismount and let Josh talk about his topic breakdown. I feel like we just had to get the dick thing out of the way because size.
It was inevitable.
Yeah.
We did. Anyway, I thought I'd bring it back to some relevance of hunting naturally.
Well done.
Not dicks. So what I thought I would talk about, and my question to both of you and to the listeners, is caliber size. Now, I know we've touched on this briefly, but I was actually at Euro Optics. They've changed their name. I can't remember what it is.
Hey, Paris.
Nah, but APRS is behind it. Anyway, I was down there the other day or a couple of weeks ago just to start getting an idea of a 223 AI build that I'd like to do. And I was talking to one of the guys there, and he questioned me on why I wanted to go to the 223 AI, and that's the Ackley improved. Anyway, I said, simply I'd like it for deer, and I just want to squeeze some bigger projectiles out of it and a bit quicker. So I want to go for like a 1-7 or 1-8 twist rate on my barrel, and squeeze sort of the 70 sort of grain projectile out of it for fallow. Straight away, this guy got his back up and was like, "Oh, that's too small for deer." And
Well, if he's saying deer in general, but for fallow it isn't.
well, that's the thing I'd pointed out. I wanted it for fallow deer, as in specific. But he obviously just got his. I don't know if it rubbed him up the wrong way or what, but he was just like, "Oh, that's just too small in general. You're better off going to like a 257 or a 280." And I'm like, "Well, I don't want to go to that. I want the 223 AI because you can run 223 out of it. Your 223 REM run out of it if need be. So if I need to buy rounds off the factory like ammunition, I can, and if not, I can load. And I've got the ability to go bigger projectiles at a faster rate." Now, we've spoken about this before. There's recommendations for recommendations for calibers for what deer you're shooting. And comes to mind, Victoria, they have a recommendation for a 243 for hog deer, chital and fallow. And then that's with an 80 grain projectile. And then for large deer, they recommend a 270 with a 130 grain projectile. So my question to both of you in a second will be, what do you think is the minimum size caliber for our deer species that we have in Australia? Now, I'm going to just go on a side note here. So I know some people that have shot deer with a 17 HMR and killed it in one shot. And I have read, and so a few years ago, I was looking through my Instagram, or it might have been Facebook back then, and I found a photo of a 12-year-old that just shot a mule deer. And this 12-year-old was using a 22 Hornet, a 22K Hornet, I believe, and shot it and dropped it. The muley didn't run or anything. It just fell over straight away like a sack of potatoes. And that was obviously a very well-placed shot. Mm-hmm. It wasn't obviously at an extreme range. Obviously the range was, it looked like on the video to be around no more than 50 yards. So probably about 41 metres. But it did the job. So bringing that back, my question to you, now we've covered the legality of this before in the podcast and things like this, but what is your personal opinion on calibre size? Now, knowing that Caleb and I both run a 308, you run a 243, Ryan.
Well, I think there's three factors coming into play here. So there is shot placement. Mm-hmm. There is ethically putting down an animal. Mm-hmm. And then there's the regulation side of things where the government specifies a minimum calibre. And if you are a government body specifying a minimum calibre, you're more likely to overspec and make sure you're covering the lowest common denominator. So if you've overspec'd, say a 243 for the small deer, it could really probably be a 223, but they go 243 because that then says, all right, that covers everyone who's a good shot and not a good shot. Mm. So
okay, but all right, I'm going to point something out.
So I'm just saying that's the three factors, right?
Yeah, there's three factors. I'll just jump in and say one thing. So the 223 at a 70 grain, you're hitting better speeds than that 243. Say in the 223 AI, sorry, you're hitting better speeds than the 243. So you're getting.
But is
better ballistics out of it?
What's that wound channel like? Is it just gonna? That might be
this
fast bullet. Is it just gonna pass through? Or is it gonna actually create some damage?
See, this comes down to bullet selection, which is where I was going to go as well with this. Is size doesn't always matter. Now, back when I was young, we had fuck all bullet selection to sort of choose from. There was your main ones, Sierra, Berger, your Nosler came out. Your Winchester standard projectiles and things like that. But technology has gone that far that now they make frangible ammunition. They make ammunition that is good for penetration. They make ammunition that does well penetrating and then breaking up. So projectile technology has come so far, it really doesn't matter anymore about the size.
Okay, so maybe then if you're going out for deer, maybe I need to rank those factors, those three elements. So firstly, if you're in Victoria, where they actually specify calibre, first thing you have to go is meet the minimum requirement of the state you're in.
Yeah.
All right.
Well, you have to.
You have to. You can't go out and shoot a deer with a 22 in Victoria, can you?
Yeah. Yeah.
So there's your first selection point. Your second would be well, am I going to put the deer down humanely with whatever calibre it's going to be a combination of shot placement and humane. If you know you're dialed in and you can smack something and put it down humanely with your shot placement and the calibre you're using, then you're good to go.
See, this comes down to
with whatever it is.
So in my life, I've noticed a few things with new shooters because where these specifications are meeting the lowest common denominator. So the guy that doesn't have very much idea about what he's doing, and so it's like, you're going over safe instead of, just the bare minimum. Yeah. Now, in the States, they run a hunting program. So when you get your firearm and things like that, and then you want to go shoot state forest, you run or you go to it's like a hunting course. And in that, they teach you the basics and the fundamentals of how to hunt, but also what calibre selection to use, etc., etc. Now, in my time, I've noticed that here in Australia, people either go two different directions as new shooters. They go too small or very, very small calibers to start with, or they go extreme. They go to like massive calibers. So like that, they'll go and buy a 300 Winchester Magnum to go hunt a goat, which is ludicrous. You don't need a 300 to hunt a goat.
Well, honestly, I think this is why I'm happy with my 308 in that you're not going to be caught out. If you're going out for deer, 308, you can shoot any deer you come across.
Yeah.
Doesn't matter what size it is.
Yeah.
Say you're on that same trip, you come across a fox. You don't need a 308 to shoot that fox, but you can.
You can.
And you can do it at distance.
Oh, most definitely. But you could do that with both of those things. You can do with a 223.
I mean, I reckon I've killed the most animals with the 22-250, I reckon.
That's the other thing. And you're getting smaller again. And because the 22-50 projectile is so frangible, yes, it doesn't have much penetration, but once it's in there, that's it, man. It is causing havoc in that wound channel. It is just absolutely destroying it. And we've all seen this before. We've all been a part of roo culling, and we'll bring Poiter back into this. We've all seen Poiter shoot a roo with a 444, which is fucking insanely big. And it's shooting with that much energy, it's just passed straight through. So clean through and through. And the roo has done a backflip and then run for we probably were after it for about a K on the flats. Yet you hit it with a 22-50 and that's it. It's just on the ground. It's like boom, that's it. It's dead.
Well, I think, mate, you really just got to understand what your projectile is going to do and what you're capable of and what the rifle's capable of.
But does the size matter then, if that's the case? Does it really matter? Or should we have people in the gun shops or a course or a part of the course? And I do believe that it is part of the firearms course or safety training course here in SA that they do touch on
it is
calibers and things for hunting.
They do, but they spell it out, again, for the lowest common denominator. Once you're an experienced hunter, you can probably understand the minimum you can get away with, which is probably less than the recommended, but by then you've developed accuracy and some knowledge.
You see, I agree with that on one hand, but on the other hand, I also agree that people say at the gun shops and things like that work behind the counter should be steering new shooters in a good direction from the get-go. And new shooters shouldn't be sort of shy about saying, I'm new at this, what do I need to go get? And everyone, let's face it, everyone was also biased. Everyone has their own opinions on what to use and what they like. And it does come down to a size thing and availability a lot of the time when they choose a caliber.
You'd hope someone in a gun shop talking to a new shooter puts their own personal preferences aside, listens to what the person is wanting to use the rifle for, and recommends something that is fit for purpose.
Well, as I said, it doesn't work like that. When I went to Euro, the guy was like, that's not big enough. Yeah, and I'm like, well, I beg to differ, mate. I've seen guys, not seen, but I know of guys that have shot red stags with a 2-3.
I think the first point of call for all of this is just shot placement. That's what everyone preaches anyway.
Yeah.
So I think that your experience is probably not reflective of most gun shops, because if you go to different gun shops in Adelaide, if you go to the Adelaide gun shop, they have a bit more of a professional salesman approach to the way that they engage with you. But then if you go somewhere like Fisher's, it's a lot more laid back. So depending on where you go and the salesperson that you're speaking to, I think that's going to have a bit more of an impact on how your engagement with them is going to be. But in terms of the caliber that you're using and what it's for, your shot placement is going to be first. Whether or not the size of the round, aside from that, matters, I think it comes down to your velocity and also what type of rounds you're using. So, and understanding what that is, and it comes down to education. So, talking about newer shooters, if the shooter is super new, all I can say is if you're a new shooter, just know what the fuck your round's going to do.
Well, as a new shooter, like you're shooting, you're playing with rifles, so you should have a understanding by the time you purchase your first rifle of what you're doing. You should have a basic
The
understanding.
other
and enough
flip
to
side
get
of that,
by.
it's like what Cal was talking about, the last phenomenon. I know farm boys that have grown up around guns that don't understand that, like the physics behind a round and how it works. And all they do is they just point the gun, shoot, and they're either hunting or they're...
Well, that's an ethical thing.
In the same way the government will overspec a minimum caliber for a species, the salesperson at a gun shop has a duty of care when they're selling and recommending things. So if they're regularly saying to new shooters who want to go out for deer, buy a 223, then word's going to get around once these people go out and they're fucking up with the 223. Yeah. Oh, well, no, the guy at the gun shop said 223 will be fine. And then that reflects badly on the gun shop.
Yes, but
so they're going to do the same thing where they recommend over.
See, we have a lot of new calibers sitting and floating about these days that the government hasn't recognised yet that are more than capable on the extreme end of being able to put things down, like the 6.5 on Samba. I personally believe there is no reason why you cannot use a 6.5 on Samba.
I think it just comes down to your round. Like if you ideally, what you'd want is your round to not go through and either break up on impact or create as much damage with your impact, and that comes down to the physics behind your velocity and then the weight of the round.
So does size matter?
I don't. Well, it's yes and no. So this is it depends on what you're looking at. So if you're going to use the same FBS for the round that you like, the feet per second for those playing at home, it's just how fast the bullet goes. If you're going to use that consistently in the data that you're collecting, just got to allow for the common denominator, Josh.
Oh, well done.
Yeah.
Well done.
Yeah. Then the size of the round does matter, because the higher up you go with the size of your round, then you're obviously going to be increasing your weight of the round, and then the kinetic energy on impact of that is going to be greater with a bigger round.
I disagree again to some, or I agree to some sort of. I agree to some degree, but I also disagree, because if you've got a young shooter or maybe a small framed shooter, not saying it's a female or a male because it's 2021, a small frame shooter that can't handle large recoil, but they still are keen to get out and get into the wild and hunt. Okay, we're going to pair you up with a caliber that you have the physical ability to shoot, and to shoot well, to shoot accurately. And that may be smaller than what is recommended or what people think is sufficient.
Well, hopefully there's someone with experience coming alongside that person saying exactly what you've just said then, and going, all right, you're probably not going to be any good with the 308 because you're tiny.
Well,
you're probably
I'll
better with the
you,
243.
With old mate Kiwi's 300, that booted you around a bit.
Yeah, I couldn't stand the thing because it kicked like a mule.
There you go. You know, like you're not going to hand your daughter, so you're either one. Well, you've really only got one. Harper grows up. She gets she gets into shooting, mate. She's 18. She's a small frame young lady.
She won't be small frame.
You're not going to go giving her a 300, man.
No, well, I mean, I didn't like the thing either because it took away from the experience. Like it was a fit for purpose for the game we were after.
Yeah, that didn't have a muzzle brake on it though, did it?
But
No.
the thing just wasn't enjoyable to shoot because you just got smacked every time, and your sight picture was fucked every time for a follow up. So I didn't enjoy that rifle.
Yeah.
It's not because I'm being a wuss and it hurt. Like it didn't hurt. It just kicked so much. It was not enjoyable.
Yeah, I get that. And it was also, obviously, there's a purpose that it was being used for. It was oversized for that purpose, where the purpose of a smaller system would have been better.
So what if you were comparing like a 300 blackout to like a... Like
So
a Warner or something?
300 blackouts are good, but they're actually... Not many people know this, but the 300 blackout is actually a round that was made to be subsonic, a centerfire subsonic round for a suppressed sort of rifle platform.
Yeah.
So you can get obviously like high velocity rounds for them. That's no dramas, but it was actually developed for, I believe, I could be wrong, but I believe integrally suppressed weapon systems. And then obviously if you've got a subsonic, so it's slow round and it's a big sort of projectile. Yeah. So slow.
So your kinetic energy is
not as
compensated
great
for with the size of the round. So that's where size does matter.
Sort of. So a little bit of a grey area, and the 300 blackout's not overly popular because of that.
The range on them isn't that great either.
No, not that great. Not that great at all. But
I want one though.
I mean, you keep saying, does size matter? It's size, I think it just means the right size in this instance. It's definitely not a case of the biggest is always the best when it comes to calibers. It's just finding the most appropriate. When you put all those factors into play, the individual shooter, their level of competency, their body, what game they're going after, what sort of ranges they're shooting out to, all those factors, and at the end of the day, you just want to find the most fit for purpose size, whether that's bigger or smaller. If you're you know that you could probably go whack some fallow with a 223 quite competently.
I'd probably take most deer with.
You could probably whack anything with a 223, obviously, but then you're limited in that as soon as you go into Victoria, you can't use that 223
on public land.
Yeah,
yeah, but private land, I certainly would. I see no issues with it whatsoever. All right, so this is. I'll wrap up my segment here. This is something that I would most definitely like to have some proper feedback from our listeners. So if you want to jump over to our Instagram page, Send It Mate podcast on Instagram, and we'll put a poll out this week on does size matter? Oh my God. All right, let's move on. Ryan, you're up next, buddy.
Well, this one was it's so many different avenues. I was just talking about, when it comes to measuring things outside of the bedroom. I straight away think of fish.
Fair enough.
Fish.
Just out of interest, what do you measure within the bedroom?
Yeah, that's actually a good point.
Like the distance between the wall and my bed and whether my nightstand's going to fit there. What do you measure?
I usually measure in feet,
You're
not inches.
sick.
I measure in
You're
feet.
sick.
Handspans.
You measure it. It is approximately 2 handspans.
Isn't that what horses used to be measured in?
Yeah.
Hands, yeah.
Hands-
Height of the horse.
Yeah, something
handspans.
like that.
I think it still is. It's like a
Yeah, they're still measured
yeah.
in hands.
I'm gonna start quoting everything in handspans from now on. Just to see how that goes.
Actually, just as another side tour, while I was homeschooling my daughters in lockdown, one of they're 5, just so people know, one of their tasks for maths was to measure things in hands, like go measure the couch, go measure the TV. So I've sent them off on their way, and one comes back, she's written down couch, 5 hands. I'm like, are you sure? Like, look at your hands. You think the couch is 5 hands? How are you doing this? She's just showing me. She's just stepping along the couch with her hands. I did 4, Daddy. Okay.
Did you get that from you when you're like, yeah, it's 12? Your missus like, are you sure?
Wah, wah, wah.
Anyway, continue.
Anyway, fishing. So in South Australia recently, actually last year, they increased the fines for breaking the fishing laws, basically of take home, like your bag limits and that sort of stuff. Mm-hmm. The question I have for you boys is, have you ever reported someone for violating?
Oh, if I had $1 for every time I should have.
I've kicked a, so I won't say the nationality, but here in South Australia, it's quite bad. People catching like fingerlings or undersized fish and taking them home. I've kicked someone's bucket full of them, undersized, back into the off the jetty, back into the water.
Yeah, so you should
I just walked up and booted it before.
Yeah. So for those that aren't familiar with the current situation for fishing in South Australia, like we've got not allowed to fish for snapper commercially. I don't know. Are we allowed to fish?
They're just having a break for snapper just to allow them to breed a bit.
2023 or 2025, one of the two. That yeah.
And we were known for our snapper 10 years ago, and they've just been absolutely destroyed in terms of population numbers.
Did you come on our charter? You did, didn't you?
Yeah.
Snapper fishing?
Yeah, I didn't come on it though, you sicko.
Fuck.
I spent the whole time throwing my guts up,
That's right.
choking on my vomit.
He was spewing out of a different hole.
Every time we've gone, I want to point out the ocean has been that rough. We choose the worst time of year to go out for a charter.
Yeah, no, it was everyone caught stuff though. We ended up caught the herpes. Anyway, I've actually got what the fine increase is. So, did you know that you could take home 10 undersized crabs, and you'd used to only get $100 fine, it would cost you $150 at the market to buy the same equivalent. So there was no deterrent at all, and it had been 30 years since the increase. Since the last increase in fines.
At least they'd be
So they've increased it.
full-size crabs in the market, though.
So here's a couple of examples of the new fines. So the offence for taking 10 undersized kgs or King George whitings, it used to be $50. It's now been increased to $625 per 10 that are undersized that you take home. Squid it used to be $50 again, and now it's $625 for each group of 10 that you have over the bag limit. And then blue swimmer crabs, which are like of the main species that I see being absolutely destroyed in terms of taking home besides these blue swimmers, especially.
We're only allowed to take males as well.
Yeah. Oh mate, you
Males and 10 centimetres.
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
Is the requirement.
And taking more than 20 over the bag limit used to be $200 for each lot of 20, but now it's $625.
Yeah, good.
For 20.
Good, man.
If anything, that's a deterrent if you get caught. I've mentioned before on the podcast, I'm not much of a fisherman. I'm just there for the beers and
You cannot cast that well.
cannot cast at all. Yeah.
You can swim. You could spearfish very well.
Oh, yeah. I love spearfishing. Yeah. Done that. But, standing and I don't mind the old surf fishing either, because you just throw it in and sit down and drink and wait. Well, that's what I do anyway.
That's what you do, yeah.
Probably why I don't catch anything. Oh, no, that's not true. I caught a shark. Caught a shark once.
Did you?
Yeah.
Did you eat him?
Yeah, I did. Forgot to rinse him first, though, so it had a bit of sand in it, and it was like crunchy.
Did you cook him on Galway Beach?
Yeah.
Yeah, there's your first problem. You're trying to cook on that fucking sandy shithole.
Cooking a sandstorm.
Hey, adapt and overcome, man.
Can't tell the difference between sand and salt.
It's almost, like when you, as you get older, you don't want to drink. You don't want to go have a binger because you sort of like get scared of hangovers. Like Salt Creek is like that.
No.
You need every now and then you want to go back just to have a reminder of why you don't go there. Nah, Salt Creek's pretty good.
It's all
Are
right.
you telling me you live in fear of hangovers now?
I fucking hate them, mate.
I know
I know my limits.
I don't really get them, yeah.
I know my limits and I
smashed
stay
the whole
within my
bottle
limits.
last night and I'm fine.
That's
Again,
all
the
right.
trick is just drink a shit ton of water at the end of the night.
Yeah, I'm not a pussy.
So you won't have
So
a
you'd rather
hangover.
just have a hangover.
I ain't drinking no water. I ain't scared.
I'm going to drink and drink and drink. And no, I'm not going to have any water at the end of the night. I'm just going to deal with this hangover.
There's water in Jim Beam.
This is true. You cannot argue with fact.
Yeah, that's a fact,
But
motherfucker.
alcohol makes you piss out more fluid than you take in. This is how it dehydrates you.
Go eat some salad.
So you drink a shit ton of water. You don't dehydrate. You don't get a headache. You feel fine.
Nah, just drink. Keep drinking until you're on the ground. Anyway, back on.
Anyway, we need another one of those disclaimers in real
Hashtag
fast.
Cinemate
words
podcast
again.
does not advise that you drink in oh, fuck that up.
Drink in moderation.
Drink in moderation.
Can you imagine that guy that does that? How many rehearsals he has to do?
I'm pretty sure he says it slow and they speed it up, man.
Oh, fucking oath they do. Yeah.
Yeah. Otherwise, he's just in there.
Do you know, back in the day, though, on live TV, when they read live ads, they had to do that part live, and they had to read in speed reading the end bit with the little disclaimers, like stuff that.
Yeah,
those people were just switched on.
Yeah, you just need a talent, man. Oh, that's the problem with technology.
They could read.
Yeah, you're like, yeah. He's really talented. He can read. Wow, this new guy, Jimmy's real good.
All right, jumping back onto your topic, I actually like this, man, because when you first brought up your breakdown, you're measuring fish, right? And now we've all done this. We've all been like, got home, you know, someone's like said, "Oh, did you catch anything?" And you're like, "Yeah, I caught like a salmon. It was this big."
Yeah.
And you just like, you accentuate maybe the size a little.
How many hands was it?
Yeah, 5 hands.
5 hands.
But would you actually report someone? I mean, you've kicked someone's bucket in, but would you actually report someone for taking undersize?
Yeah, man. I actually personally believe, and I'm for a fishing license, and I'm for it to be regulated a lot harder, harsher than what it is, because it's abused that badly, man.
Oh, well, fishing in this state is fucked.
Yeah, it's cooked. There's no fish left.
So
coming.
unless you are a boat owner and can actually get out offshore away from the people who sit on jetties and just take undersized fish.
Coming from Darwin, when I lived up in Darwin, man, like I used to go fishing off Larrakia. There's some rocks out there. I mean, it didn't go out very far, maybe sort of like 50 metres. And you could catch GT off of it. You could catch coinies. Oh, man, you could catch not so much mangrove jack, but you could catch a lot of species off that set of rocks. And it, you know, just a cheeky walk out on the rocks and you'd still get something. And when I'm talking about like these fish, I'm talking they're good sized fish.
Well, weren't you telling me that you would just fish near the boat ramp where everyone would come back in and dump all their offal and shit in the water, and you were catching everything they were catching out at sea?
Yep. 100%, man. They'd come in, they'd fillet it just off like the boat ramp and chuck all their guts and everything out there. And yeah, you didn't have to really, you didn't need a boat. I had a boat up there, and if you're chasing sort of barramundi, it was kind of easier to get into the estuaries and things like that with a boat. But yeah, you could catch whatever you wanted. There was actually one fish that I used to throw back, and I used to think it was it looked like a parrotfish. They weren't typically very big. They were only sort of like under the 30 centimetre size or thereabouts. I can't remember what it's called. I'll have to get back to you on that. But I used to throw them back thinking they were like shitties. And then I read somewhere that they're one of the most sought after fish in Australia to eat. And I used to catch them all the fucking time.
Oh, shit.
Yep.
If only you could Google back then.
Yeah, well, the internet wasn't a thing back then.
Well, that was pre-smartphones.
What is this, a numb? How long ago are we talking about here?
No, we're talking when you first were up in Darwin, like 05, 06 sort of,
so that's
sort
like
of time.
the Nokia 3110 sort of era where Snake was the bomb and no one really knew what Facebook bullying was.
Pretty much, man. Or you had flip phones were a thing. Like if you had a flip phone, you were like fucking hoity-toity.
Yeah, man. If you didn't have sunglasses with the flip phone, you were just trying too hard.
Yeah, exactly.
That's a fair point, actually, about smartphones. Just on another side note, like you wouldn't necessarily have to report someone. You could just walk up to their bucket where they've got their undersized crabs or fish and just take a photo. And then just hang around, look at it, take a photo, and just put the fear of God into them. Like, oh, what are you taking a photo of that for? Well, because you got undersized fish, man.
Yeah.
I don't know. For some reason, that's one thing I've never really flexed the rules on, simply because it's something I've wanted to preserve, and it shits me so bad when people abuse it. But I've never actually gone to the length of reporting someone.
I don't know.
Because I wouldn't know how to. Like,
well, I'm
sure there's a number to ring, but
it's a 24-hour number.
You see, give us that number actually.
So the number is 1-800-065-522, or you can download the SA Fishing app. It's a 24-hour fish watch. So basically, you can report anyone at any time. And whether they'll action that immediately or not, or it'll just go down as a report, I don't think that there's the resources for that, but at least it's documented.
I suppose you could take a photo of the fish or take a photo of them take a photo of them standing next to their car, so it's got their rego or something, and then say, this person did this. I guess they'd still have to catch them in the act. I'm sure you're not ringing this number up and some guy with flashing lights is going to rock up.
The fisheries might come down. I don't know. It'd be a hard one to police. That's why I just kick them fucking
Just kick buckets
back in the back.
Kick the buckets in.
Because, man, it shits me. It is that bad, our fishing here. It's been destroyed that much. Now, as Caleb stipulated before, we're talking about shore fishing. As if you've got a boat and you can get offshore, yeah, it's okay, and that's managed quite stringently, all your sort of boat limits and things here in South Australia. But off the coast, nah.
Yeah, but, at the moment, what are you catching? Like, you can't have snapper. You might be able to get a tuna.
You get salmon and things.
Yeah, but still salmon, they're not big fish.
No, they're not.
So you might go out for your boat limit of fucking whiting or garfish or whatever.
Whiting you can get off the beaches still.
Not very many places.
And not overly massive either. They're not that great. I mean, if you hit sort of like I actually caught one at the start of the year. Would have been it was probably the biggest King George I've ever caught. And that was off of the beach. And I cooked him up and ate him. It was great.
Damn straight.
Yeah.
I think we're about due to go catch some mullies
Yeah, definitely.
down the Murray mouth again, I reckon.
Yeah.
That's getting harder and harder as well because, like, through the Coorong and that, there's a lot of stingrays that are up there, and for some reason there's like an overabundance of stingrays up there, and then you got the seals destroying fish populations and things down there too.
We could avenge Steve. Just go after the rays.
Avenge Steve.
Irwin.
Oh,
That took a while. What? Click. Well, there is a type of ray that is very good eating. I think it might be the tiger. I can't remember, and don't quote me on it.
No, definitely don't quote you because next minute it's like the most poisonous thing ever.
No.
You'll die.
Well, there's a particular species of ray that is very, very, very good eating, and I wouldn't mind trying it, to be honest. I did catch one at the start of the year and brought it in and put it on the bank, and I was going to give it a go and eat it, and it started popping out babies.
Yeah, wow.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm sure there must be good eating. I've watched plenty of not wildlife shows like Bush Tucker Man type things where the Indigenous Australians are out with their spears spearing bloody stingray. So there must be some
Edible.
decent eating. But there you go.
So I've just had a quick suss at the fishing app. So you can make a report, including photos, description of the offenders, with time, date, stamps, and that sort of thing as well.
And you know what that's going to be? My revenge. Yeah. Bitch. Enjoy the $600 fine.
That's interesting, man, because I've never even bothered to take the time to even think about how to report someone if I see something.
It's quite simple. So I recommend that everyone downloads this app anyway because it's got all of the latest laws and things and some tips and tricks and stuff as well. But also, you can just directly report snapper fishing without having to go through this. There's a section of the app, you just select it.
Wow.
It's pretty good. You can make it anonymously or you can give your details as well. But you can also select whether it was past, present, or future. So you can be like, this guy will be at this place at this time.
This guy will potentially.
Yeah, that's right.
Holy fuck.
You can set up a sting. Ray.
This sounds a bit like we're
let's
heading.
do that one day. Fuck yeah.
Well, that's the thing.
Well, you actually owe him a prank, so
Oh, fuck.
Yeah, that's what I said. That's going to be my revenge. Enjoy
Ryan
the $600
is going
fine.
to be at Port Adelaide
Yeah.
on these.
Somehow there's just a big fuck of stingray in the back of my ute that I didn't know anything about.
He is spearfishing dolphin in the Port River. That's interesting, man. But that's sounding a little bit Karen-ish.
Well, that's the thing. Like, where's the line? Like, where do you go? I don't want to be a snitch. But then you go, well, these guys are kind of fucking up our fishing experiences as well.
If I was generally concerned and I was like, this person's being a fuckhead, I would go and talk to them first. At least give them the courtesy of mentioning it to them. There might be a legitimate reason they don't know what they're doing is wrong. So you give them the benefit of the doubt.
When they're pulling out like fucking 12 centimetre like fucking whiting and keeping it, fuck them. Throw it back in the water.
No, I'd still go talk to them and be like, do you know what you're doing there is illegal? Like,
Yeah.
Nah, because of course they're going to plead the fifth. They're going to be, I didn't know.
Yeah, I don't speak English. I've heard that excuse many a time. Many a time.
then you'd probably kick the bucket in.
No, I'm sorry, but it doesn't sit well.
No, I think you should always you should always talk to someone before you report them to an authority.
Oh, report them, but kicking their buckets in for them.
And then if they're a cockhead, then you go, well, fuck you, I'll report you.
Take pictures before you kick the bucket in.
Don't leave a note on their car, whatever you do.
Well, you know, speaking of reporting people, like at the moment, there's people getting like antsy with other people about wearing a mask or not wearing a mask and this and that and the other.
You have to wear a mask to go through the bottle eye in some places. I'm like, really?
Yeah. You know, you have to, if you go to a restaurant, you have to wear your mask until you're sitting down and have a drink in front of you, but then you have to take your mask, like obviously take your mask off to drink the beverage and eat your food.
Yeah, it's stupid, man. And then the waiter, I went out for dinner last night, the night before, and then, you know, the waiters come up to you. You've got no mask on. They've got a mask on. Then people would get up to go pay, not put their mask on, but you're supposed to. As soon as you get up from your table, put your mask on to go. And then there was some people who didn't have a mask, like they're outside till they get to the door. They put a mask on to enter, sit down, take their mask off. Yeah. Then there was other people walking in, no mask at all, and they would just walk to the table to sit down. So I'm like, what the fuck? This is just getting ridiculous.
Yeah. Well, if you're outside and you're more than 1.5 away from someone, you don't have to wear a mask.
Look, I don't want to...
Exactly.
I don't want to comment on any of this because,
You think COVID's a con?
I don't think my personal opinions line up with most people.
Well, don't. No, but anyway, the point I was making is now, like SA Health puts out these videos to say, just remember there are legitimate reasons why people don't have, like medical reasons, people can't wear a mask. So don't like go up to them and have a go at them.
It's a crock of shit though, because then they're telling everyone who's single that they can go fuck around. Like, you can go exchange bodily fluids, but you have to wear a mask to the pub.
Imagine if you had to wear a mask to fuck.
Dumb.
It's called a condom.
Yeah, a mask for your face.
It's called a condom.
That could improve the situation. All the ugly people out there could get a root for once. But actually, another thing about masks, actually, as I was buying alcohol earlier today, or maybe it was yesterday, I'm losing track of time. This is ridiculous. I was buying alcohol yesterday, and my partner, if she buys alcohol by herself, she normally gets asked for ID.
Really?
She looks under
really
25.
17.
She looks under 25. I never do.
Because you haven't
But then
aged
I'm like,
well,
actually, everyone's wearing a mask. So how can
great time to be a kid to buy
I
donuts
know.
and
Like
bits.
how can you tell whether someone looks under 25 or not?
Yeah, they'd be like, can you remove your mask? We're like, no.
And then when you show them your ID, you like if you had a fake ID, you'd get away with it because you had a fucking mask on.
That's a very good point.
Like, how are they policing purchasing of alcohol? Like,
Kiddies out there, take this.
Well, it's the same as the pokies.
Take it for what it is.
If you remember back to pre-COVID days, way long ago.
Yeah, like fucking 2 years now.
Yeah, you used to never be able to go into the pokies with a hat on or a hood on or anything that would obstruct people identifying you. Now you have to wear a mask, which defeats the fucking purpose, doesn't it?
yeah. See, I went in to sell an item of jewellery at a jeweller's to get some money for some gold, and I had a cap on, and the security guard at the door was like, can you please remove your cap or put it on backwards? I'm like, well, I'm not going to put it on backwards because I look like a dickhead, so I'll take it off.
You're just not cool enough for school, bro.
But I'm like, oh, that's because, they can't.
Cap wearing backwards is trendy, mate. But all those
it's-
out there,
no,
get
you're
back
like-
on.
Innovation. You're getting a product and then using it in a different way. It's innovation.
It's absolute cocksmack behavior, in my opinion.
As you're twiddling your beard.
Yes. Anyway,
I believe it's absolute cocksmack in my opinion.
then if you've got a fucking mask on in the jewelers, how are they going to fucking recognise you? Like, so what's the point of putting the cap on backwards? Like,
Do you know, it's a good time to be a robber. It's like, just roll in with your mask on. No worries.
like that was
Bam.
That was the
Never
other thing. Even as I'm in like fucking Woolworths today, I'm like, I feel like I should be stealing something when I've got a mask on in the shop. It's just weird.
Well, I don't wear a mask. I wear a head sock. So,
Yeah, because you're a badass with your hat backwards and everything.
well, I just wear. No, I'm not going to go spend $1 on a fucking mask when I got a head sock. I just wear that thing.
Which filters nothing.
Well, actually, it does. And
Filters
you can
nothing.
feel the condensation.
It
actually,
filters
because it doesn't let
nothing.
anything out.
You are breathing in and breathing out the exact same air.
No,
Like, you're not filtering shit.
no.
Well, it's probably doing about the same filtering as most of the masks that everyone else is wearing.
Well, this is the other thing. Like, you have to wear a mask, so people just make one.
yeah, there's no
And
spec on the type
Have
of
you
mask.
seen? Oh God! Like,
Don't say this. Don't say this because they'll listen to it and then they'll want specs on masks. Then I won't be able to wear my fucking head sock and then I'll be pissed
Have
off.
you seen some of the homemade jobs people are getting around with in terms of masks? Like, there's people that like have got custom nose pieces. People that like have made them so small it pretty much just covers their mouth. Like, there is that much air getting in and out. You may as well not wear anything.
I don't think it's about like filtering the air. I think it's about having a barrier where that you can't have
Oh yeah,
spit.
head sock it is. But
I mean, to contract it, you'd have to have respiratory tract fluid transferred. So even if you weren't wearing a mask,
we probably shouldn't be saying this just in case we're wrong.
oh, it's all right.
People take it
Disclaimer:
verbatim.
we're not doctors, nor are we scientific experts.
I'm just sick of wearing a mask, especially as a person with a beard. Masks suck.
Buy a head sock.
I have not seen any, and I've read a lot of fucking scientific papers on this shit. I have not seen anything that shows how wearing a mask can reduce transfer. So,
Socialism, mate. This is the start of forcing socialism.
oh, it's just a crock of shit because the main cause of transfer is like contact. So someone hocks a loogie onto a surface and then someone touches it and it touches their eyes, right? That's like your T-zone on your face. That's normally where it gets transferred. Your mask doesn't stop you from fucking touching your eyes or anything like that.
Yeah, your eyes are certainly very good
This
conductors.
is what annoys me is because there's so much conflicting information out there. You know, first it wasn't, you couldn't catch it off surfaces. Then you could catch it off surfaces. It's like it is airborne. Then it isn't airborne. Like, there's all this conflicting information.
The Delta strain's more contagious, but yet it's not as deadly.
It's ridiculous.
Which one is it?
I mean,
What's going on?
I do actually like the hygiene element where people are washing their hands more, because how many people have had a cold and flu?
That's
Compared
The
to
cold
normal.
and flu's gone around a fair bit actually. The last month and a bit, there's been a flu going around.
It still has, but way less people.
Yeah, there's less cases.
I'd say the same amount of people that I've
No, there's less cases.
Normally see.
If you pull up this.
well, out of my friends, most people have had it.
I mean, your circle of 5 people. I mean, that's is some extensive research. You've done
Yeah,
there.
but you,
But it is.
yeah,
But if 3 of those 5, bitch,
no, your
That's
dad
a
doesn't
greater
count, man. That's 4 people.
percentage. You got it. What are you on about?
What do I have?
You had the flu the other week.
No, that wasn't the flu. That was a cold. There's a difference.
Oh my god,
It's bacterial,
fucking hell!
not viral.
Actually, I'm like loving it because okay, I'm going to do this. Touch wood, because I normally would get it like the flu once a year and haven't got it, so I kind of agree. And like a person that goes to the gym, I really actually enjoy when people wipe down the equipment after they've used it, because there are some mank motherfuckers that go to the gym.
Do you have to wear a mask at the gym? Because
Nah, fuck no.
what is the fucking point of wearing a goddamn mask in a restaurant?
you do.
If people...
No, you don't.
No, you
You
don't.
do.
If you're exercising, you don't have to wear
You
a mask.
don't have to wear a mask.
So everyone's like heavy breathing and
you do.
sweating, body fluids going everywhere.
But
Might as
you
well be a
don't.
fucking orgy. But then if you want to go have a beer, you got to wear your mask from the point of entering to when you sit down.
This is what I mean. There's so much like hypocrisy that's going on. I don't know. This is what makes it hard to distinguish truth from fucking.
I mean, I wouldn't
Fiction.
use the word hypocrisy. I'd say it would be contradictory.
There's
So-
both, I reckon. There's a lot of. Yeah, okay, you're right. There's some
There's
contradiction.
I mean,
and there's some hypocrisy.
I would also think there's a lot of politics that gets played in this where
Socialism is definitely a big part.
That's not what I meant. I meant you don't want to be the guy who had a COVID outbreak on your watch because when elections come around, that's going to be what your opposition uses. They're like, they fuck this up.
Okay, do you believe that you should have the choice to get the vaccine, and you should have a choice, not like whether you want it
Absolutely.
or don't? But then if you don't get it, you run the risk of getting on it, but like getting COVID. But you get on with life. If you do have the vaccine, you get on with life. It should be your choice. They should simply just say, all right, fuckers, the vaccine's here. If you want it, get it. If you don't, you could die.
It's the
Let's
same
move
as
on with life.
every other vaccine for every other viral infection. Same thing should apply. If this whole like, if you're not vaccinated, then you can't come in here, even though all these other people are vaccinated. Like vaccination doesn't stop you from contracting something; it reduces the symptoms of it. So, and it basically helps your body identify and kill off the virus.
Creates
quicker.
immunity.
Yeah. Well, it's not complete immunity to it. You
Not
still
complete,
contract
but
it.
it creates the your body gives us
Antibodies.
like
So
the
the
antibodies to.
what happens?
to
The
fight it.
antibody latches onto the protein spike of the virus and stops it from spreading within your body.
We had this conversation last night when
We
you were
did.
highly intoxicated.
I don't remember that at all.
Dr. Ryan comes out again.
Well, that whole mutated strain just means that the protein spike has changed. So that means that if you've already got antibodies, that some of them will actually latch onto it, but some of them won't. So it just means it will stay in your system longer, which means you can spread. So that's why they say it's more potent.
Look, who gives a fuck? Either you get it and move on, or you don't, and you could get it and you move on.
The reason why I'm raising all of this stuff is for someone who has been vaccinated to degrade someone who chooses not to get vaccinated is a hollow argument.
Well, this is where the danger is in terms of having like a vaccine passport, essentially, is because it creates a two-tiered society.
Yeah.
You've got those that are and those that aren't, and then you've got all these vaccinated people getting on the high horse looking down at the unvaccinated people like they're the scum of the earth.
Yeah,
And I
then-
think that is what is
Then
in
those that-
danger of happening.
then those that aren't vaccinated have a lesser quality of life.
Yeah.
Well, not necessarily. I think that there's ridicule that gets handed down, but it wasn't too long ago that it was flipped around the other way, where the anti-vaxxers were the bad guys because they were,
Yeah.
you know,
Look, I'm not anti-vax at all, but I believe that you should just have the fucking choice, and everyone should just move on.
yeah, no, absolutely
It's
with
that
you on that
simple.
one. I think that, like, I personally am not going to get the vaccination for. I'll get it eventually, but not.
Give
now.
it some time.
right
Give it
now.
some time.
Yeah.
Like, and then the trouble is that, and you guys know that I'm a stickler for data being credible and legitimate.
The statistics.
But it's so fucking blurry. The amount of data that's out there at the moment and who's pushing what and where it's coming from and the sources is so blurry at the moment that you cannot get a definitive.
That's what I mean,
idea.
and you're not going to, because like CNN are the major stakeholders in the Pfizer vaccine. They're not going to say that the Pfizer vaccine is shit. They're going to push their agenda because that's just smart fucking business. You know, so you've got them pushing their agenda, and then other doctors and things pushing what they think is truth. Now it's just washed. It's this big fucking mess. It's like a big
I mean,
drum
and
of
It
shit.
is a mess. I mean, like most people will happily go get their measles, mumps, rubella, and their hep A, B, C,
Yeah.
or whatever the fuck you get as the standard part of growing up. You get all those vaccinations.
Yeah.
That, like, no questions asked. I would like to talk to someone who's old enough to remember what the tuberculosis or the polio vaccine was like back in the day. Was there community backlash to that?
Well,
I don't know.
I remember being in school, and that was part of being in school was you got the jab.
Yeah, that's right. But when there's rumors of people saying that if you don't get it, you won't be allowed to travel or go into fucking pubs or buy fucking groceries or whatever, that becomes an issue. So they went around it the wrong fucking way because you're forcing people to do
But
something.
they're not doing that now. So this
they're
is
not.
this is,
But
this
there's
is
not doing it
rumors
yet.
of them
issue I
doing
have
it.
with that kind of speech is everything that is based on hasn't happened.
No, but there's rumors.
But rumors are there's rumors that there's fucking UFOs.
But it
under
doesn't.
Ayers
It
Rock.
doesn't matter.
So
It creates this fucking.
it does, but this is the critical thinking that comes into mind. So they either are doing it or they aren't. That it may or may not happen is the grey area that people live in to justify their own opinion.
And if it does, and not everyone just fucking
well,
folds
no, if
over
they
and goes
do,
with it.
no, people don't fold it. If they did that, I'd be standing right next to you going, "This is fucking bullshit." But to say that something will happen, but it hasn't actually happened, and there's no evidence of it going down
No, but
that
they've
road.
spoken about it, and we know that they've spoken and considered and put this and gone, okay, this could be a possible way to get everyone vaccinated. Well, okay, we've
Yep.
spoken about it. So therefore, it creates this fucking doubt in our mind as the general public, and we're like, well, we're being segregated, we're being separated. Suddenly, there's that two-tier society.
That's that two-tier society. That is not the big high powers somehow creating division. That's the way that society works. Human nature is to belong to a group. So what is going to happen is naturally, without some big man making the decision to split the population, people will develop their own opinions, and those who are intellectually fucking lazy will decide that theirs is right and they won't listen to anyone else or give anyone else the time of day to have a differing opinion.
Oh, look,
And that's how society ends up segregating itself. And
but what I'm saying is, it will create that division, and with the rumors, it's creating that division, and it's not a good place to be. And it shouldn't. It shouldn't.
Absolutely.
They shouldn't have even considered that. They should have gone, okay, we need to pay for this vaccine for everybody and give it to everybody. Start implementing it in schools if it's safe, obviously, etc., as a vaccine like measles, mumps, and rubella. Give it as a fucking, your flu vax every year. Promote it in a nice, healthy way, not in a maniacal way.
I definitely agree with you on that one.
Again, this is down to our media where you almost hear about things too soon. So there's all these rumors and machinations and speculations and shit. So as soon as someone has a fucking thought, it's reported in the media and it's sensationalized and, it's this crazy news story. And it might actually just be something that the government has mentioned once, and it might never actually come into play, but it gets reported like that's going to happen, and then everyone gets up in arms and fucking carries on.
Fucking oath. But you're 100% right. But because it's happened, we're in this predicament right now.
Yeah.
So there's no point in whinging about fucking it should have been handled a better way, or handled better, but it's not. So now we're in this predicament. So we need someone now to stand up, give us the fucking truth, not force it down our throats, but implement certain fucking things to go, okay, it's free if you want it, you got it.
Yeah. Look, I definitely agree with you in they could have approached it a bit better. I think that if it was promoted as being optional, but there's no one governing body that's going, you have to get this done. There's sensationalism that's been built up by people that are pro-vaccinations and people that are against vaccinations. And the people that are against vaccinations generally have always had the platforms to speak and have already peddled the same stuff. But the misinformation is being used. I've got members of my family that are using studies that have been proven wrong over and over and over again, but using those same studies as justification for their argument. And then I look at the study, read the breakdown of it, and there's flaws all the way through it. But that particular study that they're referencing has gotten traction within the community, and that's being used as a justification for being against vaccines.
People should have a voice, but too many people have a voice that gets exposure these days. So there's too many fuckwits.
That's true.
Says the three guys that run a podcast. Wah, wah, wah.
But we're not pushing any one agenda. We're having a debate. We're having a discussion because this is all part of human thought and interaction. Is you got to talk things through and not just accept everything like sheep.
Yeah,
you do.
That's important. But too many people have a voice and have influence with information one way or the other.
And it's muddied the water. And from the start, it should have been controlled a lot better.
And there's too much media narrative, and there's too much corruption. It's fucking
I think
complicated.
this is something. This whole concept, I think, is something that they should be teaching in schools. Is instead of telling kids what information that they need to learn, teaching them how to think about some
and
information
find
validate the
reputable
credibility.
Yeah,
Okay,
exactly. Find a good source of information.
We have the ability to find the sources ourselves, but you're right, there's a level of laziness. But two, we're also in a period of time where we have, out of the entire fucking human history, we have the easiest and fastest way of communicating and fucking getting the lowest common denominator's voice out to everybody within fucking a second.
That's true.
And we're now learning to deal with that as a society. And COVID is, it's, I guess, showing the weaknesses of having that ability where we can just jump online ourselves and fucking make a comment, post it, then suddenly it becomes mainstream news.
Yeah, I mean, like I think that is coming down to the individual, like we said, like being able to identify and look at something. When we say critical, it doesn't mean to be opposed to it. It means trying to understand what it is that you're looking at and the validity of the information that you're looking at. But I myself am guilty of taking information that supports my own opinion and then promoting it in different words, but making it sound like it's legitimate fact. And as humans, like we in conversation and talking about things with other people that support our opinions, we do not choose to be open-minded and expose ourselves to opinions that are opposing that because we disagree with them. And having an open mind is really, really hard for us to do because our sense of wanting to belong to a community is
that
is
and the way
opposed to
that we're raised. I get that, and that is part of, I guess, our downfall, man. Because it definitely is. That mixed with the absolute jambalaya of fucking information.
Is that even a word?
Yeah, it is.
Yeah, it is.
What does it mean?
It's a dish where you just put everything fucking in there.
Jambalaya.
Jambalaya.
And it's it makes it difficult now. I was just listening to Joe Rogan the other week, and he was he had two doctors on. I can't remember who they are, but they were talking about a drug called ivermectin.
That is what I was talking about before.
Look, and how do you know what's real, what's not? I don't know. Suddenly it's out there. You've got the two other vaccines. You're like, fuck, what do you
do you know what ivermectin is?
I don't know, man. And to be honest, man, I don't.
It's a drug they use to fight parasites in dogs.
There's a lot of drugs that we've used on animals that are also human grade, so I don't really give a fuck about that, to be honest, because it's fine.
It's not about that. It's about identifying what it does. So the study that they're referencing with that.
Yeah, but there's a lot of drugs that have dual purposes.
There is, but you're talking about fighting a parasitic infection versus a viral infection.
It doesn't
and
matter.
The science behind it does matter because it's how
not
it
really,
works.
because as I said before, drugs can have multi-uses.
But the point Josh is making is these two guys, and I've listened to the same episode. These two guys are putting information out there with no agenda. They're not getting kickbacks from Pfizer or whoever else.
Yeah.
They're just trying to put out actual information about some studies that they've personally done or that they've noticed keeps getting shut down. So countries that have used that drug where they've got results, they've used that, they've got results for fighting COVID, both as a prophylactic it just means it prevents people getting it, and then also as a treatment. It's been shown that it's been effective.
Have you read the papers on it though?
I haven't read the papers, no. But these guys are basically taking a completely different angle to everything else we see in the media. And they're saying, well, what YouTube keeps removing their videos where they put out all this information and it's being labelled as misinformation.
Censorship. Actually, did you hear the Kyle Sandilands show that?
No, I don't listen to that fuckhead.
No, it was what the fuck? Who was on it? Pauline Hanson was on it, and they were bleeping her out when she spoke about vaccinations and stuff. So, in terms of I think there was two things I got out of what you just said. the ivermectin stuff that they're talking about is a crock of shit. If you actually read the documentation and the way that the studies were carried out, it was flawed because it was used as an add-on to other treatments for COVID, and you cannot stop yourself from getting a viral infection. By the way, you cannot stop yourself from getting it. It doesn't work like that. But if what you're saying is the censorship around that and why it's shut down from mainstream media. So if you look at the general scientific community, there is a stupid amount of support based on the data that's been collected about ivermectin it doesn't work. It's not about whether it works. Well, I'm not saying whether
all
it
these
works
two
or not.
were trying to point out with the fact that it was a bit sus that all the information about that drug, ivermectin. I'm pretty sure we're not saying it right.
I don't think we're saying it right either.
Ivermectin. Oh, fuck. Someone Google it. Anyway, that drug is getting shut down by and all the other
So
it's not fitting the narrative.
I get what you're
basically.
saying,
So
but
that's why it's getting shut down.
Let's say hypothetically that it doesn't work, but that drug gets pushed and they don't censor it. Like I'm not. I'm absolutely not.
Are the other two vaccines working?
No
and
one-
they're pushing it.
The biggest point they were trying to say is no one stands to make any money from
I know,
ivermectin.
and I get that. But I'm not saying whether they should or shouldn't censor, and I absolutely don't think that they should have at all and let people make up their own fucking mind. If they want to get on this drug, people should be allowed to. Because it's an over-the-counter prescription, isn't it? It's like a readily available drug.
There's a generic version of that.
Yeah. So if you want to get on that and it's approved by your doctor, fucking go for it. But saying that something that has had studies and data backing it not working and pushing that to say that it is
Well, that's odd because once again, this is what I was talking about, muddy waters, man. Who the fuck's right?
who
You're
the fuck
saying
knows,
that
yeah.
there's studies that are wrong. These guys are saying they've done studies and it's right.
Yeah.
There's countries that are using. Who the fuck's right?
That's right,
Who
and
the
that's what I
fuck
was saying
knows?
before about grey. My personal choice is I'll break down the way that the research was done because I understand.
But how do you actually know unless you were there and watched it happen?
That's
You're
true.
reading a report.
Yeah, but so there's peer review reports as well. So where people try to mimic the same
It's
results.
ivermectin, by the way.
Ivermectin. So, I mean, all of this aside, I don't really think too much about this anymore because I go down a rabbit hole.
I'm
and
sick
end
of
up
thinking
fucking-
about it.
Yeah.
Who knows who's right?
But from as far as the censorship goes, no fucking way, man. Like that should not
Well, that's
ever
a
happen.
freedom of speech thing, man.
Absolutely.
Once again, you're getting to socialism, communism, this and that.
Oh, fucking oath, man. Like, let people make up their own minds. That's
And we have freedom of speech. And I believe a public platform like YouTube, Facebook, and fucking Instagram, you should be allowed to say and put what you want up there within. Yes, there should still be regulated within left and right, like things like you shouldn't have pedophilia and stuff up there.
But if I want to post a dick pic, I should be allowed to post a dick pic.
No. Well, no, nudity is something else that shouldn't because there's a young generation that's on there. But you should be able to certainly portray your free fucking speech on there.
Yeah, that was a joke, by the way. I'm not interested in posting.
Oh, I wouldn't put it past you. Man. You don't even believe in ivermectin.
Which brings us back to does size matter? You should have a large penis if you want to post it, surely. Or do you? I'm sure there's a niche for micro penises, but
No, there's definitely a niche for average size as well. Yeah. Hey, look at my average sized penis. That's
look at me conforming to the average.
yeah, that's it.
On a lighter note, let's move on.
All right. Well, I'm going to be as brief as possible because we've rambled about COVID and masks and bullshit. So, all I wanted to bring to the does size matter debate was to simply say, well, does size matter? It does and it doesn't. It depends on the application. I'm sure we'd all like the biggest and best of everything most of the time, but it's not always what it's about, really. You got to find the right size for the application, I think and that's something what I was
Spoken like someone who has a small penis.
Oh, dear God.
I believe the word you're looking for is micro.
All right, Josh, I'll shut down that argument because if you have a massive cock and you have someone with a very small, tight / shallow vagina, how the fuck are you going to operate? other than just putting the tip in.
Maybe that's a nature's way of saying that you're not compatible.
Ask for further data on this little fucking query of yours. How big is the anus?
What the fuck?
'Cause there's other options.
This fucking went 0 to fucking 100 real quick.
Are you promoting a certain sexuality for yourself
Well,
right now, Ryan? Or
It's like my
an
mates
axe.
in Bali always say, up the bum, no babies. So I'm just saying that there's
Wow.
other options available if
Yeah.
she's
you're
into
saying you
it.
can't bottom out during anal?
I actually...
Pardon the pun.
oh, shit.
Anyway, how did we get back onto dicks again? I don't know.
I actually feel like we've hit a new low.
I think we have.
I mean, I was trying not
Rock
to go.
bottom.
Oh,
I was trying not to go back to dicks, but you just wanted to accuse me of having a small dick.
it's a rock and a hard place, man.
Fucking, we're killing the fucking dad jokes tonight.
It's fit for purpose, all right? Now, there are some instances where I... Look, if you've got a really, really tiny dick, it's probably never going to be fit for purpose. Anyway.
What if she's got a shallow vagina?
Well, then it might be fit for purpose. So you've got to find that right person. Find that right application, Josh.
Put that on your Tinder profile, mate.
Shallow vagina needed.
Small dick seeking shallow vagina. Oh, we are juveniles. Anyway, but, to bring it back to somewhere slightly relevant, in terms of fishing, I believe that there are size limits for a reason. Like, it's law, right? You've got to meet a certain size limit. So I think there's actually, and as I touched on before, there is a specific reason why there's a size limit in fishing. We want to keep that sport going forever and a day. And if you keep taking little fish that are undersized all the time, it's going to die in the ass like it has in SA. But having said that, if you're out fishing and you catch a fish, you still want to catch the biggest fucking fish.
Yeah.
You can, of whatever species of fish. And that's the story you tell to all your mates is, I caught this, whatever the size is, snapper, or this whiting that was
Every time you
this
tell
big.
the story, it grows an inch.
Exactly. But to bring it back to hunting, so fishing, I would say you always want the biggest.
Can I just butt in for a useless fact 101?
Oh, go on.
So barramundi are born males and then they fucking turn into females when they reach
it's
a certain
2021.
size. So I think that might be the case for a lot of species of fish. So I think that may bring some relevance into size limitations, and I know that's why there's a size limitation for barramundi. But anyway, go on.
So that's why, when it comes to fishing, we always follow a size limit, minimum. But then in terms of what you go after, you want the biggest. You can't see the fish in the water. So that's where it differs to hunting, in that you can't see it before you catch it. But that story is always the best when you catch the biggest of it. Taking it over to hunting when it comes to size, I think now we are definitely living in an age where everyone wants the biggest rack, the biggest fucking animal they can get. But
Ooh.
so there's two-pronged approaches here, right? So the best story comes from when you've got the biggest of something. But when it actually comes down to pulling the trigger, it goes back to the fit for purpose / the right size at the time, or where you're personally at in your hunting journey. So if you're new and you've gone out, you want to go get some meat for the table, you're not always going to go for the biggest size. But when you're trophy hunting, you want the fucking biggest. So I think that's where there's an argument of people going, well, why did you shoot that one? That was a spike.
There is, and that is a very, very common fucking gripe on Instagram.
Yeah, like, you could have left that for another 4
Let it
years.
grow.
Let it grow. And then if you go out and shoot all those, then, all the deer are going to die out and no one else is going to have anything to shoot. But let's be honest.
Management's a real thing. Like, I just want to put that out there.
Yes,
Management is a real thing.
I 100% agree that management is a thing. But what I don't think there should be is this culture of shaming people
Fucking A. I agree.
because you don't know the situation that they were presented with when they pulled that trigger.
And I agree. And you know what? For a new shooter, a spiker is the biggest buck he has ever had.
Correct.
And it is bigger and better. And
Well, that was my first read.
Yeah, it is just, it's fucking phenomenal. And you know what? You'll never forget it.
Yeah.
But unless you've been on that progression to be able to go, all right, so you're first of a species, you might be prepared to shoot a spiker. But that next time you go out, you're going to go, well, I've already shot a spiker, so I actually might leave that one and I'm going to go for one that's bigger. So people are at a different, on this sliding spectrum of where they're at in their hunting journey, you're going to be in a different spot. So now that
and I agree, bigger, like in your evolution, you know, bigger is better, and you reach a certain point where you certainly want to get a bigger buck and or bigger rack, etc., etc. But then, like in the States, it changes almost where bigger is not better. They want obscure or
unique.
Not typical.
Yeah.
Like deformed racks and that
Yeah,
sort of stuff.
odd looking racks, you know, because a lot of people get very symmetrical or close to symmetrical racks, and they've gone through that progression where they've got a spiky, they've hit a decent buck, and then suddenly, you know, or a couple decent bucks, and they're like, oh, now I want something different.
Yeah.
May not be bigger, you know, it could just be,
The
he
next-
looks good to me.
There's always going to be that, you know, allure of there's something bigger around the corner. And then you go, oh, that one's bigger. I'll take that one. And then you go out again. Oh, I've already got one that big. I don't need to take this one. So
I beg the question of if you tomorrow landed I don't know, let's go something crazy, an 18-point red, would that end red hunting for you?
well, no, it wouldn't, because there could be something bigger.
No.
There could be.
That's the grass is green.
Right. But then it goes, well, how much meat's in my freezer? So I might go out again with an empty freezer and go, oh, I'll happily smack that spiker because I need some meat in the freezer.
You see,
So-
we're a bit biased here as well because none of us really are trophy hunters. Us three, mate, we're happy to shoot a meat animal and then be sitting around the fire at the end of the day, sinking piss, eating that animal.
Yep.
That is us. But there are people out there that don't, like, meat to them is the secondary.
Yeah.
You know?
So if you're out there just smacking whatever you find and then not utilizing it, then you're a dickhead.
Mm-hmm.
Then that's probably why there is this argument out there for only take the biggest and the oldest stag.
Mm-hmm.
Right. But
See, I much prefer young female does for eating.
well, yeah.
They are generally a lot nicer.
And how many times do you go out and you go, look, I'll leave that one. Yes, I'm out for meat, but that one's a bit smaller. I'll see if I can get a bigger one.
Yeah.
And then you get to the end of the night, you're like, fuck, I didn't get anything. I should have shot that one 2 hours ago.
Yeah, shooter's remorse.
Regret.
Yeah.
I have never ever if we're going out for meat, which is usually the only reason why I hunt, I've never ever let one go to try and go for a bigger one, ever, because you don't know, like that whole grass is greener thing. If you're going for a trophy, yeah, I get that.
Have you ever found though, like, and this is something that I've certainly noticed with us, is when one of us even gets an animal, it's almost like, okay, pressure's off the group because we're out for meat. We just sort of relax, and then it just becomes, oh, okay, the hunt has taken a turn for a slower pace. So suddenly,
Yeah, that's true.
I find myself out there at times going, I don't want the hunt to be over just yet, you know, and yet you get people like Stephen Ranella who are like, oh, don't pass up on the first day what you'd love to have on the last.
Yep.
You know,
Absolutely.
meat, trophy, doesn't matter. Either way you want to look at it.
Yeah. So I think, I mean, that's all I really wanted to bring to does size matter. I think, yes, it has to be where you're at. Make sure you're doing the right thing legally. Yes, it does matter. but also it depends on the application. It doesn't always have to be the biggest.
There
chicks
we have it, ladies and gentlemen. Penis size does matter.
on it. It does.
I don't know. I think maybe
Let's face it, this
maybe
whole
a
discussion.
female
is
will
about
probably have a
dick.
more of a valid opinion of that than any of us.
Maybe we should get a.
Actually, do you know? I was listening to a podcast, and they had a porn star on, right? And she said that quite often there are porn stars with massive dicks, and they can't actually keep them as hard because there's so much fucking blood they have to pump into them. So it can present more of
I'll
a
just
problem.
call that weak.
I mean, if they've got a fucking horse's heart pumping the blood, then sure. But yeah, so again, being fit for purpose.
Once again, I'm hearing justification for how small your penis is.
He may have a small penis, but it gets rock hard,
Do
baby.
you know what? I am very secure, so I don't find the need to fucking sit here and argue with. I don't.
You know
find-
this is going to happen.
I'm so secure, man. I'm not feeling insecure at all. So whatever.
I'm glad that you have that security.
All right. Am I fair to say you're done?
We're done. Let's move on.
All right. Callum is done for the day.
Fuck off.
So,
You know you've been trying to get under my skin this week by calling me Callum instead of Caleb.
So, ladies and gentlemen, we have this group chat. Obviously, it's a private chat for us three to organise ourselves for the podcast. And this week it started off as a spelling autocorrect error, and I called Caleb Callum. And from there, I decided to keep it going, and he did not talk to me all
He
week.
doesn't appreciate being called Callum, but I find it fucking hilarious.
I wasn't in the mood.
Oh, dear.
Anyway, shall we move on to...
We shall.
We shall
Yep.
move on to this week's ND.
Do it.
ND!
ND!
Negligent discharge. Negligent discharge.
I actually really like that. It's
Well, we're keeping
a
it.
good segue. All right, negligent discharge. So
Keep it snappy.
we'll keep it quick, keep it snappy. So the last week I've been working away down south on a station, and we've just been drenching a bunch of sheep. Fun times. We're getting ready to line them. Anyway, we were penning up the other day, and we just put a full run in. We closed the gate off.
I don't know any of the words you're using right now.
Yeah, you're going to have to Google it, bro, because I'm keeping it short.
You're
So-
penning and trenching.
Penning up. That's pretty.
Oh, putting them in a pen.
Yeah, that's pretty.
Just for those playing
Or
at home.
putting
What
them
is
in a run.
drenching? What does drenching a sheep mean?
So it's deworming. So it's just a shot in the mouth.
People have Google, Ryan.
Yeah. Anyway,
I'm just trying to help our listeners so that
He's doing some sheep-related activities.
yes. Okay.
These things are inconsequential. Just let him get to the ND.
Anyway, so I just started drenching, and we've got one of the farmhands running dogs, and they're just sort of like pushing the sheep up in the run to like come through the race. Anyway, I just started drenching this mob of sheep, and one of the dogs is chasing this other sheep that's waiting still in the pen, and I've just heard this bang, and I've like looked up. I'm like, what the fuck was that? And this sheep has hit the gate and just fucking boom. It's just gone to the side, tipped over on the side, and fucking. At this stage, we thought it died anyway.
shouldn't laugh at that. But
It
that's
wasn't moving, and I remember like I put down the drenching gun and I go around the other side of the race to have a look quickly, and like the sheep wasn't breathing; he was just out cold, and I was like, oh well, he's done. So we get back to like drenching that run. Anyway, we open up the next run, bring him in, and suddenly this sheep just gets up, and this is like 10 minutes later, it just gets up, and like this thing did not move for 10 minutes or breathe. I mean, it was fucking out for the count, man. And he just gets up. And have you ever seen like a drunk stumbling around?
Plenty of times.
That's exactly what it looked like, man. The sheep's just fucking like so googly eyed on its fucking feet, stumbling around and shit. Anyway, it got back up to full spirits, and we drenched it and moved it on. But that was the ND, was this dog running the sheep straight to this fence. These fences aren't that great. Or these gates, sorry, aren't that great. They're just like your your small cyclone gate with like a bit of chain between it to keep him from going open, and knocked himself out.
Knocked the fuck out.
Yeah, got knocked the fuck out cold.
I think we've established sheep are pretty fucking dumb.
They are fucking. Oh, Richie calls them. What does he call them? Fucking maggots, land maggots, or something. Yeah.
I don't know.
Stupid ass sheep.
But that's my ND. One dumb sheep.
That was short, sharp, and shiny, Joshua.
It was. I needed to get it out. Keep it quick because we are at almost an hour and 40 of us crapping on.
Well, we did take a fucking side tour into COVID land again, but
Yeah.
We did.
oh look, it is the topic of the
For those that
last
are
2 years.
playing at home, fucking make sure you check everything that we have said today on Google about COVID because fuck, none of us are doctors.
Yeah, a pinch of salt. Take everything with a pinch of salt and do your own research. Make up your own mind. That is our disclaimer.
And go buy them Magnum condoms.
Yeah, buddy. Or the ice cream, whichever of your preference.
Anyway, I think it's time we get out of here and wrap it up. Thanks for listening once again to Centre Made Podcast. I've been Caleb.
I'm Josh.
And I'm Ryan.
And we will catch you again next week for more interesting topics.
Catch you later, dude and dudettes.
Peace out, motherfucker.
Catch ya.
What? Yeah. Dick.
Why? Just why?
G'day, dude and dudettes. Josh here. Do you find it hard to keep your long, hard barrels free from gun STDs? Maybe you need a clean out of your bore. If this is you, jump on over to highcalibre.com.au and use the promo code SENDITMATE to receive a 10% discount on all your gun cleaning needs. And remember, it's sexy to support Australian-made products. Everyone here at Send It Mate uses high calibre, and we can promise you that it'll keep your firearms free from those pesky gun STDs.